Good afternoon. It's 5:02, and we're beginning a regular meeting with the Tehachapi Unified School District's Governing Board. And Ms. Barnes, first item's roll call.
President Kaminsky.
Present.
Vice President Kelly.
Present.
Clerk Wood.
Present.
Trustee Cooper.
Present.
Trustee Christensen.
Present.
Trustee Napier.
Here.
Trustee Sweeney absent. Superintendent Bell.
Present.
And I'm Deanna Barnes.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. It's now time for our flag salute and moment of silent reflection. We are led this evening by Principal at Cummings Valley Elementary, Taylor Marcuson.
Good evening, Board, and all of the members of our public. If you would please stand for our flag salute. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please stay standing. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Thank you, Ms. Marcuson. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for the board to approve the agenda as presented?
I so move. Kelly, a second.
It was moved by Trustee Christensen, seconded by Vice President Kelly. The board approved the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Recognition of Capturing Kids' Hearts Student Greeters. Superintendent Bell.
I would like to welcome up our greeters here. We're going to take a photo with the board. Would like to extend my gratitude for our Capturing Kids' Hearts greeters from Cummings Valley, as well as their principal, Ms. Markinson, for selecting and encouraging these outstanding students for the month of September. The focus is on empathy and challenge, and the goal is to ensure that every interaction leaves everyone feeling seen, heard, and valued. And together at TUSD is proud to partner with families and foster empathy within our students, both at school and at home. So if you guys would all come up front, we'll take your photo.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Oh, no, I want to be in the back, great.
1, 2, 3.
I'm hiding, it's hiding.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank our student greeters and Principal Marcuson for arranging that tonight. Now we're on to general function. Number 1, superintendent update. Mr. Bell.
All right. Thank you, President Kaminsky. We'll get my presentation up. Ben, presentation. All right. First slide, again, just wanted to thank the greeters and Principal Markinson for selecting those students there. First item then, fiscal 2025, so Ed Code there outlines the requirements of the county superintendent of schools to analyze district budgets. And I wanted to make sure that not only our board members, but the public was aware in that bottom paragraph there. Based on the multiple year projections and assumption provided by the district, it appears the district should be able to meet the financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent fiscal years. The adopted budget for Tehachapi Unified School District has been approved. So we did get a certified budget from KCSOS. I do have the documents here as well, so I wanted to make sure that you all knew that. So appreciate all the hard work from our business department and everybody involved there. All right, the staff here at the district office, principals, and everybody, we continue to monitor our overall enrollment. Wanted to just highlight, I wanted to give you guys, first of all, weeks 1 through 3, and you'll notice a little bit of a decline in week 3, but I wanted to remind you that my anticipation was that we were gonna lose somewhere between 16 and 19 students because they had not showed up for any day of the enrollment of this school year. So we literally are in line of that 16-19 departure from the first day of school. So we're looking pretty good right now at 4183 overall, and our sites are solid. Overall, our current attendance for last instructional week was 94.32, a drop from the previous week and a little bit below our goal, and our year-to-date at 94.46. We did have a little bit of influx of the flu, and there was some COVID going around, believe it or not. So we anticipate this will go back up, and in light of that, the district office team got together and met with our principals and vice principals, and we decided to run a monthly attendance challenge. And on that monthly attendance challenge, any classroom at any site that receive a 95% or higher, those students and teacher will receive a small snack in their classroom. And the classroom with the highest percentage for that school site will actually receive a catered lunch. So this is going to be our monthly attendance to keep our goal in mind and make sure that we stay within the lines that we would like to stay in with respect to attendance overall. Our bulletin boards this month, transportation and MOT. So we'll start with M&O. This year's theme is laying the foundation for success, a theme evident throughout the board's playful introduction to all members of the maintenance and groundskeeping team, but also provides a visual update on a lot of the work that's been completed over the last several months. You'll see before and after photos highlighting significant maintenance achievements through the summer, including the JMS and the TEC gym renovations, the installation of new built-in tables at CV's multipurpose room, and many other projects that are part of laying the foundation for success for students. So I wanted to thank that team, the M&O team, for the one on the right. On the left is transportation. Their theme is bustin' into another school year. So busting into a new school year, right? The team's enthusiasm and dedication for student transportation highlights We Are TOSD. The display is creative, a creative introduction to a day in the life of the transportation department, highlighting their commitment through the day. You'll see photos of their work from sunup to sundown, including shots of buses in the early morning and the sunset. The board also highlights the spirit of the team, handwritten notes from the staff and photos, and the decorated bus that they use to support students, such as the THS varsity baseball team as they headed to playoff from last year. So both of those boards are really festive this year. I encourage everybody to take a look at them. They did a great job and really appreciate that. So great job to those teams. Our upcoming events, we've got noted some dances that will be coming up, parent night, homecoming football game, homecoming dance, Sipping with the Soup for the month of October, and THS Fall Concert, and our regular board meeting scheduled for October the 14th for our up and coming dates there. And that is all I have for this evening, board.
Thank you, Superintendent Bell. TAT update. Ms. Bowman.
I'm always surprised how fast I come up here now. I'm not used to that, I think. All right, good evening, President Kaminsky, members of the school board, Superintendent Bell, and the public. My name is Val Bowman, and I am the Tehachapi Association of Teachers President. I'd like to begin the evening by giving kudos to the interim special ed director, Dr. Perales. SPED teachers, speech paths, and others have been saying it has been a refreshing change of pace working with someone who is solutions-based and not reactionary. Communication is easier, and her intelligence is only exceeded by her empathy. TAT looks forward to fruitful conversations in the very near future. Now to the business at hand. Financial cuts to the TUSD world. TAT was curious to know if the cuts we see in the classrooms and on certain sites are equal to those of other associations and bargaining groups within our district. But I did some research because it was needed before I wrote this address to you. So I'm going to do a little history throwback. Public schools across the nation have been notoriously underfunded for decades. But I'm only going to speak about California. In 1978, Prop 13 was passed, which severely limited property taxes and was a tremendous hit for public schools. California went from spending way above the per pupil average to far below. It was almost at the bottom for the nation. And it stayed that way for a very long time. In 1988, Prop 98 was passed, which guaranteed a minimal amount of funding to public schools. And it was supposed to be consistent, but there was a bit of a fight for that in 2008. There have been great debates over the funding and what exactly minimum funding is. It's also the revenue source for the LCFF, and COVID money is now a thing of the past. So right now, California spends about $18,000 a year per student and is sitting about 18th nationwide for per pupil student funding. But increased costs are affecting everyone, even school districts. So the minimum doesn't seem to be cutting it anymore. I've spoken to people within our association, I talked to CSEA, I've talked to some people in confidential management, and the cuts appear to be equal across the district based on the jobs in those specific areas. CSEA saying empty positions are not being filled, same possibly with certificated management, and TAT is seeing cuts to extra duty positions and some positions not being filled as well. With that being said, there are concerns at school sites, especially regarding SPED caseloads and TK numbers. But maybe not the TK numbers, but for sure with SPED caseloads. It's causing hardships with our membership. But TAT knows there's a struggle finding money. I mean, there's always a struggle finding money. And we know that the superintendent and Mr. Enchizari are working as they're able to do so, looking for funding. So TAT has several goals this year, but there are two that are very important to us. Number one, we don't want our teachers and our members, our speech paths, our nurses, we don't want them to burn out. And the other is to keep people employed. We want people working. So how can this be done? One way is to stop the frivolous lawsuits that waste time and money. It comes down to the parents looking at a bigger picture. Those lawsuits affect every student in the district. It's a ripple effect. Money is needed to balance certain class sizes, reduce caseloads, and follow the law and our contracts. Our contract and CSEA's contract. Soon, TAT and the district are going to go to the bargaining table, and some of these things will be discussed. But in the meanwhile, TAT is always a willing participant in discussions regarding the budget and the effects on its members. So whatever you need from us, just let us know, and we're here. So thank you for letting me speak tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. You as well. CSEA update? No one's here. Number 4, board communications. Anybody on the board wishes to discuss, bring up the visit to schools or anything? Okay, I guess I will. Oh, you want to go?
Go ahead.
I was
Well,
at the high
mine's gonna
school,
be-
but you can go ahead and talk
Mine-
about it.
Mine will be involved, so go ahead. I was able to, went to Sipping with the Soup last week, and attendance was rather sparse until the end, and I was there till half hour after it was over, which is fine. My wife would rather me be at Conan's than at home anyway. And we had good conversations with a couple of people. Went to back-to-school night at THS, and I wish I could get to every classroom, but I liked talking to some new teachers. Some I thought were new that had been there 2 or 3 years, and I remembered I didn't make any THS tour last year. So anyway, hope to see those folks. And I saw Dr. Jean Twenge on the Today Show, I believe, a couple weeks ago. And she was talking about 10 rules for raising kids in a high-tech world. And I didn't buy this book because I sit on our school board. I bought it for my daughter, who's raising a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I have concerns about their time on media. So I bought it. I'm not quite done reading it. It has an interesting chapter on cell phones, the last chapter, and I've shared that with the other 2 members of our cell phone committee, Dr. Kelly and Trustee Cooper. And I also, she brings up a lot of good points. I don't want to go into it right now, but I will be coming up with a presentation to make in a future board meeting once I'm done with the book. And I've also, some background, I went on the California Healthy Kids Survey for Tehachapi High School and Jacobson Middle School. And the last one that's on the website is 2023-2024. And it doesn't mention cell phones anywhere. I was flabbergasted. It does talk about bedtimes, breakfast, and this book talks about bedtimes as well. So anyway, I encourage any parent, teacher, administrator to grab a copy. It was $27 on Amazon, but I've seen it cheaper now that I bought it, of course. It just came out a week ago today. So, anybody else? With that, we'll go to public comments. Members of the public shall have an opportunity to address the Board of Trustees either before or during the board's consideration of each item of business to be discussed. In order to efficiently manage the business of the board president may limit the amount of time allocated for public testimony for each individual speaker to 3 minutes. Unless otherwise determined by the board, individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item, and the board will limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Now, all of these are, the requests were made for agenda item 7. And just wanted the public to understand the discussion is a board discussion. And I was going to have all the public comments done now, but I think we'll wait. Since they're all on the same subject. Item 6 is consent agenda. In order to promote efficient meetings, the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together by a single vote through the use of a consent agenda. Consent items shall be items of a routine nature and items for which board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. When any board member requests the removal of an item from the consent agenda, the item shall be removed and given individual consideration for action as a regular agenda item. Is there any trustee that wishes to pull one of the consent agenda items? Seeing none, I like to hear a motion that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
So motion. Kelly, a second.
It was motioned by trustee Cooper, seconded by Vice President Kelly. The board approved the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Item 7, discussion information items. 1, discussion, Assembly Bill 1266, pupil rights, sex segregated school programs and activities. We'll start with the public's comments. Don Wilder.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Don Wilder. I am the pastor of Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Bakersfield, a resident of Tehachapi. Sorry, okay. Can I start again? Is this my, okay. My name is Reverend Don Wilder. I am the pastor of Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Bakersfield, a resident of Tehachapi, and a parent of TUSD students. Tonight you will be discussing Assembly Bill AB 1266. This law was passed to ensure that transgender and gender nonconforming students can fully participate in school life. It has nothing to do with Title IX. And let's be clear, in the years since AB 1266 passed, there have been no documented cases of transgender students committing misconduct in locker rooms or in bathrooms in California schools. None. What has been documented over and over again is bullying, harassment, and rejection of LGBT students. When we see this here in Tehachapi, there is no longer a gay-straight alliance at the high school because the teacher's classroom kept getting vandalized. Now think about what that means. It means that students who most need a safe place to belong were driven out by hostility. That is the culture we should be worried about. That's what destroys learning environments. As a parent, I know the grim reality that our students face. My oldest son is okay today, but I believe that is only because COVID forced the closure of Jacobson while he was there. And my youngest son is only alive today because he was warned about what was waiting for him and he did not attend school on those days. Bullying is the real crisis that gets heightened when adults give kids permission to see one of their classmates as a threat. And Tehachapi knows what happens when schools don't protect vulnerable kids. Seth's Law and AB 1266 exist because children were dying. The law was written in memory of real students, our neighbors. As a pastor, I call AB 1266 a shield of belonging. As a parent, I call it necessary. As a community, we are called not simply to follow the law, but to fulfill it with love. AB 1266, that's the floor. Compassion is the ceiling. Let's rise together. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Walder. Ann Khalil. Jim Pendleton. Gail Purdy.
Let's see, is it on? Yes. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, board members, and also superintendent. It's nice to see all of you. Thank you for walking into Hornet's Nest, and you know what? That's the best way to address the issue, and I really appreciate you're doing that because it needs a direct addressing of the issues. One of the things that is really important in my mind is protecting girls and their private spaces, that they have a place that they can go to be safe themselves and be a cohesive group, be able to talk amongst themselves about whatever topic is important to them at that time, and to open that space up to somebody who is not really a part of the club, has not grown up in their bones and in their emotions and in their private spaces, is going to inhibit the girls. It's going to make them feel like they're not in a safe place. Bullying happens everywhere. It happens in the girls' locker room, between girls. It happens pretty much everywhere, and it's unfortunately a part of learning how to get along. You learn where you feel welcome, and where you don't feel welcome, you find someplace else. I know as a teenager I went through that myself, and I think every child does, boys and girls, thinking of my kids also. So I want to express also a really deep appreciation for those who have showed up to represent their kids. It's important that they do that. It's important that we listen to them. It's important that they listen to us. And they go way out of their way to come here, and I can't express enough how much I appreciate their point of view, and to understand that there's another point of view too. And I want to also express the other side and appreciate them and hope they appreciate us. And at the bottom of my heart, I feel that there's going to be a way that can be figured out that makes everybody safe. And all of you have been here a long time and in the school system, and I know that you will make it work either way. You'll find a way to make it work where everybody has their safe places. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Purdy. Edmund Wheeler.
Hello, my name is Edmund Whalen. I was raised here in Tehachapi. I was homeschooled here. I went to church here. I graduated from TUSD. I am very much a Tehachapian. I am also a transgender man, and I have had a very similar experience to many other trans and queer people in Tehachapi, where I went to school here, I grew up, I moved away to college, and I finally came out when I felt safe to do so. Tehachapi has not been a safe place for LGBTQ students in general, but especially for trans students. Being trans is not a phase, it's an actual biological, psychological phenomenon that is well grounded in scientific evidence. It is an extremely difficult time to be a transgender teenager, just being a transgender teenager. your body is supposed to behave in one way according to what your brain tells you, and it's developing in an entirely different way. And your brain is just screaming at you that this is wrong, and you don't know why. It's hard enough without adults in the community telling you that you are a freak, that you are evil, that you are potentially a predator. Tehachapi needs no more youth suicides in this community. We have had so many of them, and I can't tell you how many of them were trans. I can't tell you how many of them were queer. But I do know that the statistics in this country say that that LGBTQ people, teenagers in general, are 4 times as likely to commit suicide than cisgender heterosexual teenagers. And I know that 50% approximately of trans people, all trans people, have considered committing suicide. We don't need that anymore in our community. I acknowledge that the discussion about sex-segregated spaces is a difficult one because it is difficult to try to fit the wide range of people that we have in reality into a binary. It's not a cheap solution and it's not an easy solution. I think that my solution, first of all, is total or at least enhanced privacy in private spaces. I'm aware that that is not cheap, but everybody would be happier with it. I would like to point out that forcing people to use the spaces that align with the sex that they were assigned at birth is not a great solution because, first of all, it endangers trans students significantly. I know that people are talking about potential predators entering the girls' locker rooms, but look at it from the other angle. If you have a trans girl who's being forced to use the boys' locker room in a place where there's already so much bullying, so much anti-LGBTQ stances, they have the potential of being ganged up on. It's horrifying. And also, besides danger, I don't think that cis people are going to appreciate trans people that identify as the opposite sex being in their gendered spaces. Because do I look like I belong in the girls' locker room? We've all met cisgender boys in high school who look like adult men. Trans boys in high school can look like that too. Are cis high school girls going to be happy with that in their locker rooms? Another option is trans-specific spaces. This is not a great solution either. Because are you just going to put all trans people in one space? That's over 3% of the population in teenagers. There's trans boys, there's trans girls.
Edmund, you're out of time. So if you just,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you. Robin Whelan?
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm mother of a trans man. You don't want to other the students. They're already feeling like they don't belong, and to enhance that is just dangerous. I think that the idea of offering some choices, for the trans people to be able to be in a private setting is great, but I think a lot of this is just having to change our attitude towards people and not this hostility that comes towards these students. I mean, and we see it in the adults. There's this musical that says, you have to be carefully taught to hate. That's how racism and other hate comes in, is you get taught that. You're not born that way. And that's what we need to deal with, is teaching people to have a good heart towards others. Now, I will say, from a feminist perspective, I get really kind of bent out of shape over certain kinds of segregation of women. And this kind of plays a part in this as well. That, why was there ever women's chess teams? Why shouldn't women compete head-on with men in chess? That's insulting. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Savannah Bananas, their baseball team. They've brought in a female player. It's time to expand this and to allow for participation in a variety of things. If you have a baseball player who's a female and wants to play on the boys' team, why should we be locking her away somewhere else and saying you can't do this? How many of your students, female graduates, go on to the military? And are they going to be treated dainty there? I don't believe so. And sometimes there's this, we must protect women, we must give them all this safety, is really insulting. I, for one, at my age, had to deal with a lot more prejudice in the workplace and others, and to try to get ahead and advance in my career. And so that I do resent the whole let's bubble wrap girls and let's just, we have to be careful, make sure everyone has, allow us to be who we are, please. Let's allow everyone to be who they are. Let's just be honest with ourselves and not make our kids have to wait till they're 25 to come out because they don't feel safe to talk about it in this town. That's not the way to go. Let's all be truthful and be who we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whelan. The two folks that just came in, is that Ann and Jim? Yep. Okay, Ann, you may make your public comment now since you came before the end.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And I hope I have something helpful to say. I'm not here to argue anything because everybody has their thoughts, their ideas, and their feelings. And hopefully this is better. Okay, thank you. I was saying that I'm not here to argue any points per se that way. I'm here to hopefully offer a suggestion for a resolution that will be satisfactory to everybody. Because like I said, everybody has their thoughts and reasons. I know there's some wonderful, skilled people who live in this town and work in this town that would offer their services for free. And I know that I don't know all the rules and regs that you guys have to follow. And then perhaps they would just reduce their services to accommodate and help this situation get worked out to where they can make areas that can accommodate all those that have the need, if that makes sense. So you'd have however many areas you would need to keep everybody where they feel comfortable, safe, to do what they need to do. I know we can't do that at every school, but hopefully here at this school, we can make that option available. Any questions? That makes sense, I hope. All right, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Jim Pendleton?
Thank you for hearing me, sir. I'm running late. We got kind of, it's happening, but as you see, I'm not shaved, I'm not dressed proper. But what I wanted to say is last time they had the people here and I watched the recording of how the thing went. And my heart goes out to the children in this school, because I've raised quite a few of them. And what bothers me more than anything is that we're sitting here fighting for one person, but yet we're sitting there not standing up for the other ones. Whether they're LGBT, ABC, whatever they want to be, fine. We should not put them down because God does love everybody and wants them all to be with Him and believe in Him. But for somebody to come up here and preach how bad we are because the girls, if there's 15, 20 girls in that room and they feel uncomfortable because of a boy who is under the impression he's a girl, that's fine. They can be wherever they want to be. But who's standing up for those people? Who's standing up for the young ladies that are sitting there feeling uncomfortable? That'd be like me walking into one of these restrooms where there's a bunch of girls in there, say, oh, by the way, let me change my clothes. Would that be acceptable? No. And being a dad of a few girls, I've had to deal with this. And we need to take into consideration the young ladies how they feel. Granted, not everybody's perfect. There's boys that think they're girls and girls that think they're boys, and, they've even had kids think they're kitty cats. But the main point is that we can't fight for just one person if it restricts 15, 20 other children. And it's up to you as the school board to come up with some type of conclusion or solution to this. And if the one young man wants to go in there and get naked with a bunch of girls, no, that's not right. I'd be embarrassed and ashamed to allow something like that to happen. And it has nothing to do with, we got to love everybody. We do love everybody. I've worked with guys that have changed their sex out at Edwards. I had no problem with that. It doesn't matter about love that we got to sit there and condemn and show disrespect for young ladies because we want to sit there and make this person feel good about themselves. It's not right. And I'll argue that till the day I die. You can't sit there and step on 15, 20 children.
Jim, your time's out.
Okay. I hope I said enough.
3 minutes worth, yeah, you did. Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Any board member like to start our discussion? I guess I will. In my career as an administrator in the school district, a handful of times I counseled transgender students. And when the law came about back in the day, there was fear among staff, students, parents, that a boy would pretend to be transgender just to go in the girls' locker room. The transgender students that I counseled, that was ridiculous. They had no plans to do that. They had, has been relayed to us in public comment, the difficulty and what I appreciate from transgender students that I've talked to is the courage it takes to talk about yourself and that you feel you are a different gender. And after much discussion with parents, they're not afraid to take that stand, knowing the hell they'll be put through. And the difficulty, I talked to one young lady who told me she was thinking of transgendering to male. And we talked, and I did everything I was supposed to do according to the law. And as it turned out, by the end of the school year, she was questioning, because at the dance, 8th grade promotion dance, she had a pretty dress on. Now, I have talked to Superintendent Bell. I chatted, with Principal, I'm gonna say McAdams, Adamson, at back to school night, and I can assure those that are afraid of this student being a predator, she is not. And we are coming up with ideas, and I can tell you, all the girls in that locker room are safe. All. And we've adjusted security schedules just in case, but all right now are safe. Anybody else like to contribute? Clerk Wood?
Well, I hear a lot about right and wrong sides and things like that, and I feel like the school board, we're on one side and we're on the side for the kids. And that's what we have to think about, is all the kids and find solutions. And that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? Trustee Christensen.
Thank you. I've done some research on this. I've gone back, I've read through 1266. I've read through every section and code that it talks about. I've read through all of this. I've read through lawyers' debates on it and a lot of these things. And the one thing I got, just like Ms. Wood said, is we have to get past the point of the transgender in the whatever, whether it's, a boy transgender into the girls or the girls transgender to the boys, whatever it is, and look at it from the standpoint that, like you said, we're here for the kids. If we have, and this is one of the things that came up in one of the debates that I read, was about how we have, they talk about indecent exposure, and what indecent exposure is. Through, not saying that this is, but I mean, that was a path that one of these went down. And they say it is when someone feels uncomfortable in a situation that they're in. And I believe that the one thing that we have to be very careful of is to make sure that all parties concerned do feel safe, they feel secure in where they're at. Whether it's a boy going into the girl's room or the girl going to the boy, whatever it is. Because as Reverend said, bullying happens. Okay, it's a rite of passage, if you will, for the teenagers. And I think the one thing that we have to be very careful of is making sure that all parties concerned feel safe and secure, because they are under the care of the superintendent and the principals. And I feel that they need to be safe and secure. If they don't, that can psychologically affect not just that moment, but their school and who they are, if they don't feel safe, because that can put into play in the foundation of what's going to happen in the future to them. So I think that we need to address this, but we need to tread lightly. We need to make sure that all parties concerned are at ease with what's going on. So.
Trustee Sweeney.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I think we're at a very trying time in our lives, and no matter what direction we go, there's going to be some people that are unhappy because there is mixed, perspectives on the situation. But I will say, to many of those that have spoken, I agree with a lot of the sentiments. To your statistics points, 1 in 4 students identify in the LGBTQ community, and there are 3 other students out of that 4 that need to be addressed as well. I have had kids on either side of that scenario, and it's very important that both their needs are met. So regardless of what direction the world will take us, I think we as adults need to lead by example and make sure that we are always willing to accept people as they are. I think some of the hardest stuff is listening to past people speak, is some of this stuff just comes out and they forget these are little kids, teenagers, things that they're still trying to figure out in their life. They don't know what they want to do. And whether they stay on that path or not, I think the best thing we can do is be supportive. And so please, when you refer to your coworkers that have changed, which restroom are you comfortable with them? They are human adults, right? regardless of what they decide to do, they are people with feelings, and every one of them matter. So please just make sure that we're being supportive and open and listen to understand, not listen to answer, and just take the time. That's all I got.
Vice President Kelly.
The 7 of us are the school board. We are the ultimate authority for Tehachapi Unified. But we have parents on one side, we have parents on another, and we have parents that don't care which way it goes. We have done our best to hire Superintendent Brian Bell. He has an ed code that he needs to adhere to. I have full trust that him and his team are going to follow ed code, are going to do what's best for kids. If he does not do what our community wants within the scope of the law, it comes to us. So with that in mind, I do want to thank everybody that stepped outside their comfort zone to speak to us this evening, as well as a couple weeks ago. Please don't stop speaking your mind, especially to us. That way we know what our community wants more than our neighbors might tell us. Please continue to come out. Share your concerns with Mr. Bell. Let him know as well. Let your principals know your concerns as well. But once again, we are the ultimate authority up here. We do believe that Mr. Bell, is capable of handling this with his crew and his staff. And we've got ed code. So it is where we are. But like I said, tell your friends to come out. You come out. Tell your children to come out. Step outside your comfort zone and share with us what you're feeling. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll just close with a couple of points I didn't make. Vice President Kelly did allude to it, but we all took an oath to obey the Constitution of California, and we are. And all the speakers tonight showed tremendous respect for those with differing viewpoints. It reminded me of, as an administrator, I would usually, two students would be in a fight, disagreement, they were sent to my office. And I told them, you can think whatever you want about this person and that person, but all I ask is that you respect their right to be here. That's all. And tonight's speakers, I wish people that aren't respectful could see how they were tonight. I appreciate it, and the sport appreciates it. With that, we'll move on to the next item. New business, first read board policies. Superintendent Bell?
Yes, so we've got a laundry list, unfortunately, of updated board policies for you all to review, and ultimately a first read, right? So if we need to address anything before the second read, just let us know. Appreciate you all.
Any questions from the board? Comments? I want to thank Chief Administrator for Instruction, Andrea Paxton, I had some questions on all the sexual harassment new board policies, especially since we just approved some of them back in October of '24. And she was very detailed, and it's a lot of changes in the law, court decisions. So I appreciate that. Number 2, certification of unaudited actuals for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Mr. Antazari.
Thank you, President Kaminsky. I am excited to share with you the overview of the 2024-2025 unaudited actuals. So what does that mean? So actuals, every other presentation that I've given to you is related to our budget, comparing to our budget. That's based off estimates and assumptions, but this is actually what happened. So this is from July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025, what our actual revenues were, actual expenses, and the impact on the components of our ending fund balance. Unaudited, it just means that the year finished It has not been validated by our auditors yet. That happens around December. So it's not a bad thing, it's just what it's called. Next slide, please. So we're just going to go over some, oh, sorry, I have this here. Sorry, my bad. I'm not used to this guy. We're going to go over comparing actual revenues compared from what our estimates were back in May 2024 when we were talking about the 24-25 year, as well as the comparison of what we thought June was going to look like in May 2025. So even though it's only a month out, you know, when we wrap up the entire year and all of taking into consideration everything that we have to account for, does take about almost 2 months to close the books, and not everything lands in the year we think it will. One of the biggest things you'll see is things that happen at the state level, you know, kind of happen to us, or some of our maintenance projects. You know, we might estimate that the project costs, you know, $500,000 to get started, but we don't recognize all those costs because they didn't happen in June. They get moved to the next year. So we'll look at our ending fund balance, especially talking about reserves, and then just provide a brief fiscal outlook and what that means for Tehachapi Unified School District moving forward from a fiscal perspective. So to start, so for the 24-25 fiscal year, so as of June 30, 2025, total revenues were $64,299,612. $52 million of that is made up of our unrestricted sources, most of that local control funding formula, with almost $12 million in actual revenue coming in from the restricted side. So that's state and federal grants and entitlements, you know, the contributions that we give from the unrestricted side of the budget to the restricted for contributing to special education, contributing to maintenance, you know. So all of that is, the total was $64.3 million coming in. For expenditures, $69,237,957, right? So that's a $4,938,000, $345 deficit spend for the 2024-2025 year. This is, we've known about this. I won't call this great news, but the thing is that we are spending on kids and none of that is wasted. We have sat on a lot of block grants, right? As the ESSER money was coming through, we were using that before we touched the block grants in order to continue and make sure that we were making, you know, the right decisions, at least fiscally. All right. So just for comparison, right, because this is what actually happened, I want to, the first bar on the top, the green one will show you what we estimated as of May 2025, what June 2025 would look like. So we had, we thought we were gonna get 48 million in local control funding formula. We got 47.87. So that's a $157,000 difference, you know, but pretty close. And you can see for the most part, our revenues came in roughly around where we thought, or maybe a little higher, which is always good news. So when we look at, so this comparison is the adopted budget, right? So in May 2024, what we thought the year was gonna look like versus what the year ended up being. So we thought we were gonna get about 49.2 million, but we only got 47,872,000. So we had 1,322,000 less than we were expecting for the total year, but that's about 2.5%. So even though it is a large number, you know, that is variable, right? It depends on how many kids are actually enrolled, how often do they come to school, right? So that number can move, but the fact that we got within, you know, 97.5% is not too bad. So you can see that the remaining of our revenues are pretty much on track with what we expected or may have exceeded on all the other fronts. So for the most part, our projections on the top line revenue is pretty good. So for expenditures, right? So for a total this year of 69 million. So just looking down the list, you can see that what we estimated in May that the year was going to end is pretty consistent what it actually ended up being. So we're pretty close. So there weren't any surprises in terms of expenses, and most of what was reported to you did actually happen. Now when we compare what we thought it was going to be over a year ago to where the year actually ended, you'll see that our total expenses actually came in a little less for some areas. especially in salary. So we've talked about when we budget, we assume that the people will be in those positions the whole time. But obviously, people move on, and so there's vacancies, those, like, there's things that happen throughout the year. So the fact that our expenses are budgeted just above where they actually came out is in alignment with what we've have been reporting to the public, that we've been conservatively estimating, but being, as close as we can. You'll notice that we do have a large increase in benefits, and that's primarily related to a one-time adjustment that we had to recognize related to retiree benefits. So that's kind of the benefit of having a fund balance, or being prepared for those things that might happen. It was just a timing issue. The county is the one that operates our insurance and our benefits, and they normally will just take the expense. Instead, they had been saying for 2 years, you're going to owe us, and now we had to pay. So that's reflected here. Was not something that we really knew about, but we were able to take care of that. So for total expenses, we're pretty much in alignment everywhere else because school business is pretty predictable. So in looking just at the fiscal outlook and to talk about our fund balance, so the COLA for this year in 2025-2026 is 2.3%. So that's pretty good. And in the following year, there's estimated to be a little over 3%. So we are expecting COLA adjustments, but that's only how much you get per student per day, not so much what your total revenues are going to be, right? That is going to depend on, our attendance rate, enrollment, and those are things that are a bit outside of our control, but at least we can, prepare for anything that, we might be unexpected. Consumer price index is 2.86%. So the cost of things are going up. Attendance, we estimate a 1% year-over-year decline. We don't, we're kind of in a good situation when it comes to our enrollment, that it's not declining as significantly as some of our neighbors. And we can kind of see that through the revenue. It's going down, but it's not going down as much as, some of our neighbors. We have a 95% attendance goal, and this may mitigate the impact of declining enrollment, but it's not going to make up the entire deficit. I mean, we can hope, and we can try, but we do think that is going to be something that will, really benefit us in the millions. It's not going to be a small amount. Going from your 91.5% to 95%, or even close to 95%, has, really like 7-figure implications. So to talk about our fund balance, so on the unrestricted, right, because how much we have in restricted dollars doesn't matter. That's restricted, right? So on the unrestricted side, which is where our fund balance is maintained, we're at 17 million. So for the 24-25 year, we overspent by 4.9 million in total. 1.7 million of that was unrestricted, but next year, we're projecting 5.1 million because some of those restricted items had to move for this year to the unrestricted side because they had exhausted their funding. So we do have some things that had grants funding it before that are no longer present, and so certainly decisions that will have to be made about that. So in terms of our reserve, it's a 6.2 million reserve for 9% as required by the board. We have our unfunded other post-employment benefits that are the actuaries have at 9.9 million, and the other commitments related to technology and instructional materials, making up our committed fund balance total of 17 million. So with 5.1 million projected in deficit spending, right? So that's 17, last year we started out with 19 million, we ended with 17 million on the unrestricted side. But because of all those additional expenses, the following year, that 17 million looks like it'll go down to 12 million unless we, do something. So it is good that we are tracking our expenses, tracking our revenues. We do have a lot of work to do, and we've already started. Superintendent Bell from the very beginning has been asking and meeting about position control, collective bargaining, asking all the right questions. You heard that there are reductions being seen, and that's what it looks like when you're starting to pull back. So we still have a ways to go to address the deficit spend of $5 million, but the district is not today or even next year at all at risk of insolvency or anything like that. Any questions?
Just want to thank you. As with Mrs. Paxton, I had emailed you some questions as well, and you answered them most thoroughly. Anything else from the board? Do I have a motion to approve the certification of unaudited actuals for the 2024-2025 fiscal year as presented?
Kelly, make the motion.
Second.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Christensen. The board approves certification of unaudited actuals for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0, and I neglected to, we're in the middle of public comment. Trustee Sweeney came in at 5:27. Item 3 for new business is approval of resolution number 01 SEP25, establishing 2025-2026 adjusted GAN appropriations limitation. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. As with most resolutions, I like to read them for the record. Oops. Except they don't have this one. Recitals. Number 1, in November of 1979, the California electorate did adopt Proposition 4, commonly called the GAN Amendment, which added Article 13B to the California Constitution. And 2, the provisions of that article established maximum appropriation limitations, commonly called GAN limits, for public agencies, including school districts. And 3, Government Code 7900 require local jurisdictions, including school districts, to establish each year the appropriations limit applicable to that entity. And 4, Government Code 7902.1 provides that where the proceeds of taxes for a school district exceed the preliminary calculated appropriations limit, the district may, by resolution, increase its appropriations limit. And 5, the district must establish a revised GAN limit for the 2024-2025 fiscal year and a projected GAN limit for the 2025-2026 fiscal year in accordance with the provisions of Article 13B and applicable statutory law. Now therefore be it resolved that the above recitals are approved after we vote and found to be correct, and be it further resolved that this board does provide public notice at the attached calculations and documentation of the GAN limits for the 2024, 2025, and 2025-2026 fiscal years are made in accordance with applicable constitutional and statutory law. And be it further resolved that the board does hereby declare that the appropriations in the budget for the 2024, 2025, and 2025-2026 fiscal years do not exceed the limitations imposed by Proposition 4. And be it further resolved that the superintendent provides copies of this resolution along with the appropriate attachments to interested citizens of this district. And be it further resolved that the superintendent or her designee is authorized to act on behalf of the board in adjusting the district's appropriation limit if and when there may be an update in reported proceeds of taxes. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Kelly, make the motion.
It was motioned by Vice President Kelly, seconded by Trustee Sweeney, that the board approve resolution Number 01 SEP25, establishing 2025-2026 adjusted GAN appropriations limitation as presented. It's a roll call vote. Ms. Barnes?
President Kaminsky.
Aye.
Vice President Kelly.
Aye.
Clerk Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Cooper.
Aye.
Trustee Christensen.
Aye.
Trustee Napier.
Aye.
Trustee Sweeney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Number 4, approval of resolution number 02 SEP25, acknowledging Week of the School Administrator, October 13th to 17th, 2025. Whereas leadership matters for California public education system and the more than 6 million students it serves, whereas school administrators are passionate, lifelong learners who believe in the value of quality public education, and whereas the title school administrator is a broad term used to define many education leadership posts: superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, learning directors, special education and adult education leaders, curriculum and assessment leaders, school business officials, classified educational leaders, and other school district employees are considered administrators, and whereas providing quality service for student success is paramount for the profession, and whereas most school administrators began their careers as teachers. The average administrator has served in public education for more than a decade. Such experience is beneficial in their work to effectively and efficiently lead public education and improve student achievement. And whereas school leaders depend on a network of support from school communities, fellow administrators, teachers, parents, students, businesses, community members, board trustees, colleges and universities, community and faith-based organizations, elected officials, and district and county staff and resources to promote ongoing student achievement and school success. And whereas research shows great schools are led by great leadership, these site leaders are supported by extensive administrative networks throughout the state. And whereas the state of California has declared October 13th to 17th, 2025 as the Week of the School Administrator in Education Code 44015.1, and whereas the future of California's public education system depends upon the quality of its leadership. Now therefore be it resolved by the Tehachapi Unified School District that all school leaders be commended for the contributions they make to successful student achievement. And like the previous administration, or resolution, first of all, I need a motion to approval to adopt resolution number 02 SEP25, acknowledging Week of the School Administrator, October 13th to 17th, 2025.
I move.
Second.
It was moved by Trustee Christensen, seconded by Trustee Cooper. The board approve a resolution number 02 SEP25, acknowledging Week of the School Administrator, October 13th to 17th, 2025. Roll call vote. Ms. Barnes?
President Kaminsky.
Aye.
Vice President Kelly.
Aye.
Clerk Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Cooper.
Aye.
Trustee Christensen.
Aye.
Trustee Napier.
Aye.
Trustee Sweeney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Next item, public hearing regarding sufficiency of instructional materials. This regular meeting is adjourned at 6:16 to hold a public hearing to obtain public input regarding the adoption of resolution number 03 SEP25. Are there any public comments? Any discussion? Then this public hearing is adjourned at 6:17 and the regular meeting is reconvened at that time. Let's see. Resolution regarding sufficiency of instructional materials, whereas the Governing Board of Tehachapi Unified School District, in order to comply with the requirements of Education Code Section 60119, held a public hearing on September 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m. And whereas the Governing Board provided at least 10 days notice of the public hearing, posted in at least 3 public places within the district that stated the time, place, and purpose of the hearing. And whereas the Governing Board encouraged participation by parents, teachers, members of the community, and bargaining unit leaders. in the public hearing, and whereas information provided at the public hearing and to the governing board at the public meeting detailed the extent to which textbooks and instructional materials were provided to all students, including English learners, in the District County Office of Education, and whereas the definition of sufficient textbooks or instructional materials means that each pupil has a textbook or instructional materials or both to use in class and to take home, and whereas sufficient textbooks or instructional materials were provided to each pupil enrolled in foreign language or health classes, and whereas laboratory science equipment was available for science laboratory classes offered in grades 9 to 12 inclusive, therefore, it is resolved that for the 2025-2026 school year, the Tehachapi Unified School District has provided each pupil with sufficient textbooks and instructional materials aligned to the academic content standards and consistent with the cycles and content of the curriculum frameworks. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 03 SEP25, sufficiency of instructional materials?
So motion.
Kelly, a second.
There's a motion by trustee Cooper, seconded by Vice President Kelly to adopt resolution number 03 SEP25, sufficiency of instructional materials. And again, it's a roll call vote. Ms. Barnes?
President Kaminsky.
Aye.
Vice President Kelly.
Aye.
Clerk Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Cooper.
Aye.
Trustee Christensen.
Aye.
Trustee Napier.
Aye.
Trustee Sweeney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries 7-0. Item 9, future items. Does any trustee wish to bring up an item they wish to discuss in the future or have information researched and given to us by district office staff? I've got 3 items. I'd like to see a report in the future, not next board meeting, but available, made available to the superintendent on each site's, what they were doing, what program they had, whether it was district-led or administrative-led, on Wednesday early releases. Number 2, I'd like the superintendent to consult with schools legal on adding a time deadline for filling out public comment reports. Of course, this meeting was great. Everybody was done by 5 o'clock. It had it in. It's just, it makes it very hard on me personally. The last 2, 3, 4 meetings, we go into closed session, or people come in late and turn them in. It really needs to be done by 5 o'clock. The meeting and the agenda are posted well ahead of time, and I'd like to continue as efficient as tonight's public comment was in the future. And then the last one is a request from the superintendent that he get with the cell phone committee, which is myself, Vice President Kelly, and Trustee Cooper, to meet in his office to discuss how to go about getting input from teachers, administrators, parents, and students, especially at the secondary level. And that's all I have. Public comments for closed session is the next item. Closed session item is, there's 1, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Government Code 54957, Subdivision B1, Title Superintendent. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I'm closing this public session at 6:21 to go into closed. And I do not expect to make much of a report, if any. I've got a quorum. It is 7:26, and we're returning from closed session. I want to report out that at 6:21, when we went into closed session, trustee Napier needed to leave, so he was not present during the closed session discussion. And all I'm going to report out on that item was that the board agreed that we would give Mr. Bella sort of a midterm evaluation in December, and then a final evaluation for the year in June. And the date for that has not been determined, as the calendar for that has not been determined. And with that, I adjourn the meeting.